Patay Newman from the Trust Hospital. Good morning to you. Thank you. Yesterday, you gave us a general overview of breast cancer. Today, you're sharing some statistics with us. Our own Inshira is also joining us. Shira has a personal story to share with us. And Mr. Felix Thompson is also joining us. Mr. Thompson has a story, a very life-changing one to also share with us. So I want to say welcome to you, gentlemen, and to Dr. Patay.
Thank you.
Yes. Where shall I begin, really? Maybe Dr. Patay, tell us where you be coming from, because as part of this campaign, we also have some myths. We try to state the facts, tell listeners what the myths are, and also state the facts. So what should we expect from you today?
Okay, so today mostly we're going to talk about the statistics and the alarming rate at which breast cancer keeps coming up. And though there's sensitization and awareness, it's getting more and more alarming. So statistics are shown by WHO that 2.1 million cases are recorded annually for breast cancer, and out of it 267,000 women die from it. And breast cancer is not only for women alone, but some males also may have breast cancer, and attributing to about 1% of the males. And a study was done, and it showed that they used a survey of a sample of 100,000 people in the US, and then they also used Asia and Africa. So out of the 100,000 people, they noticed that 27 people had breast cancer from Asia and Africa, and then also 92 people had breast cancer from the US. Okay. But what they noticed was that 90 people didn't die from the breast cancer from the US, but Africa, 25 people died. So it was like 27 people were diagnosed with breast cancer out of the 100,000. Out of the 100,000 in the US, 92 were diagnosed. So it was higher in the US. The incidence was higher in the US, but then ironically, 25 died in Africa and 2 died in the US.
Okay, so more died.
So why this vast disparity? It's just because early detection and effective treatment saves lives.
Okay.
So because the developed countries, they have the means of detecting it, and then also they are aware of what goes into the treatment and all that. So there is a 99% chance of survival if detected in stage 1, and then 1% chance of survival if detected in stage 4. There's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. Coming to our own settings in Ghana here, Korle Bu being our ultimate referral center for breast cancer, it has shown that they record 460 cases annually. 460 cases annually, and cumulatively over 5 years they did a study, and they got 1,021 cases out of the cases that they accumulated over one year, and out of it 60 to 70% of the cases came in the advanced stage, and the age bracket was between 40 to 49, and also they also noticed that younger women were now getting it between the ages of 25 to 29. So if you compare the statistics, this statistics is 2018. So if you compare the statistics to the previous one, it looks like there's still an increase, even though there's an awareness like going on.
But this is also just those who decided to go to the hospital. We've got many cases, suspected cases who don't end up in the hospital. Yeah. We'll continue with the statistics. I want to bring Inshirado in. Inshira, you have a story to share about your mother and your sister.
Yes. So I think about I can't remember exactly the month, but it was in 2013. My mom started complaining about, pain in her right side. Actually, it was her left side. So I asked her to do what she would have asked me to do, go to the hospital. She did go to the hospital. She saw the doctor, and she was referred to do a mammogram. And I decided to drive by the hospital. It was Ridge Hospital at the time, to go pick up the mammogram results. And I mean, I was very, very worried, because at that time, even though we didn't know the diagnosis, and you start playing a whole bunch of different scenarios in your mind. Okay, so if it's not a tumor, if it's not a malignant tumor, then life goes on. But if it is, what happens? And you start worrying because you've heard stories, and it sounded like it was a death sentence. And at the time, I'd been doing quite a lot of work with the child oncology unit at Korle Bu. So I'd seen at first hand even how little infants, struggle and suffer. Long story short, I got home and we opened the
test results.
And yes, it was the terminology. I think it was something carcinoma, and I was like, okay, now that doesn't sound good, but we're still going to have to get some further explanation. So we went to Korle Bu and saw the team at the breast unit. Very reassuring bunch. Professor Clegg Lamte, Dr. Ansafo, Dr. Dede, and all these other people. And, they went through the treatment. So she had a single mastectomy.
Okay.
I remember soon after the diagnosis, one of the first things we started doing, so we took a trip out of town, and I remember being told that it was important at that time that she doesn't stress and try as much as possible to be happier. So we rallied around grandchildren, her children, and in-laws. Everybody just pulled together and supported her. And I think it did, to a large extent, help.
How was the treatment like?
Treatment, I didn't go through it, but watching her go through chemo was not fun. It wasn't fun. There were days where there were mild complications because, not mild, because she almost developed an ulcer because of the chemo. And of course, because her diet had to change. So if she had anything that was too spicy or oranges, and she had to go off all of those things. So we learned as we went along. But it wasn't a nice experience. She becomes very frail, and she could pick up any infection, soon after chemo and things like that. But like doctor said, early detection is critical. We were fortunate to have made that detection early,
and gone straight to the hospital.
And went to the hospital.
It's not everybody who
yes,
go to the hospital, right?
People spiritualize it and all. And I must say this, that my mother, bless her, my mom prays like round the clock, but she did not just stop going to the hospital. We did believe that the power of healing rests in God, and but we still went to the hospital.
Well, let's talk to Mr. Felix Thompson, because your auntie got it, but the first point was not the hospital. Tell us how you even discovered that she had breast cancer.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think that was 3 years ago when she came to tell my mom and my grandmom, and so I got to know about it too, because I frequent the family house a lot, even though she didn't live with them. So when I got to know about it, I invited her over. She came, and then I asked her, she narrated everything to me, how she's discovered a lump somewhere in the breast towards the armpit. I asked if it was boil or something, and she said no, she doesn't think so. I said, then go to the hospital. So she went to the hospital and came back with the result that it's a breast lump. So then we started talking her into going to the hospital for treatment. And somewhere along the line, she started talking to others, having parallel conversations with people. And then they spoke fear into her. The idea of people who go for the orthodox treatments, they don't survive, the chemo, the fear of the chemo and all that, So she decided not to go for the orthodox treatment. And they also introduced the superstition theory to her too, and then straight away she bought into it because she had a confirmation from one spiritualist. who said that she swept where she lived. She swept there at midnight, and that was when the spirit in that house was bathing, and she interfered. And so she's paying for her sins. And so she has to be, the ritual has to be performed. So she was sent to a lake to be bathed. She paid money, nothing worked. And then she fell into the hands of another spiritualist who said that her friend has something to do with it spiritually. And so that person will have to be paid back.
What was her friend taken from her?
Nobody knew what they were contending, for. So we took it like that. That's what she opted for. So we supported her. She went to the spiritualist who said that we have to buy a live tortoise. That is what
a live tortoise.
Yes, that's what they're going to use for the ritual. And so he collected the money, got the live tortoise.
How much for a live tortoise?
I think it was 250 or so, 250 cedis, and then as part of the ritual, he has to thrust use kebab stick to thrust the anal part of the tortoise through to the eye to blind the one who is suspected to be having something to do with my auntie. And then,
did anybody go blind? Anybody close to her? Because this was supposed to be one of her friends.
We don't know what happened after that, because my auntie knew that nothing happened. So she eventually hopped out of that spiritualist's hand, went into another. And he also introduced another theory.
So this is the third spiritualist?
Yes. The third one also said that there was something spiritual, so it has to be dealt with. And then he said that she should buy 2 crates of egg and bring it with 400 cedis. And she did that. She went there, and the gentleman picks one egg, rubs it around her breast, the affected breast, then hits it on the ground. And then you see pins in them. He said, "Tukbe." He did that throughout, and they counted 632 pins. And ended up saying that 1 pin costs 2 cedis. So my auntie will have to pay. And so she started paying and couldn't pay and had to leave the place. Then the bombshell, she jumped into the hands of prophets.
So from spiritualists to prophets.
I'm telling
so this
you.
is to the church.
Yes. And she went into the hands of 3 of them. He went to the first place. She was asked to pay 400 cedis for holy water. She went through it for months, nothing happened. Then she changed and went to another person. She was given a sticker to stick on the breast, affected breast. She did it for some months, it didn't work. Then she ran to another place. She said she watched them on TV and they said consultation will cost you 300 cedis and above. She paid 300 cedis. And went there, only to be told that your problem is not a 300 cedis problem. So go back home.
So she needed to pay more than 300?
Yes. Then she came back home. And this is an auntie who, from day one, said no orthodox treatment.
So at this point, because I can imagine that the thing was still spreading.
Exactly.
She was still in pain.
Yeah.
She was still going through the difficulties, the challenges.
Exactly. So we got somebody who told us that GMPC has a corporate social responsibility directed at the breast cancer patients. So the person worked it out for us. My auntie said, no way, no orthodox treatment. And the thing was getting...
Even after what she had been exposed to?
Yes. So the person deactivated that process. And when my auntie saw death coming, then she opted for it. And it was too late. She went to the hospital for 2 weeks or so and passed on.
An African woman.
But this is your auntie who had children?
Yeah, she had 7. 7 of them.
She left all 7.
Yes.
This is sad.
5 of them had a runaway father. A father who doesn't know where each of them went to school, started school and ended. So the family...
But I guess the family is taking care of the children now.
Yes. The family is doing very well.
Well, thank you for sharing the story. Doc, you've been talking about early detection.
Effective treatment saves
You've been talking
lives.
about there are people who are even diagnosed and they don't return to the hospital.
I've actually encountered literate women, educated women who have been diagnosed and they never came back. Some were scared, and I actually had to follow up with calls, and eventually you see them after 2 years and they look different because the cancer is eating up their body, and it's like there's nothing much you can do, because when it passes a certain stage there isn't much you can do for the patient, because eventually the patient will die. It's like a slow death sentence, and it's very sad. There was this one patient I took care of. She had she was diagnosed with cancer, and she was not she was in denial for a while. And what happened was, apparently she left for a long time, but then she came back after like 3 years. The only lack was that the type of cancer she had was not the aggressive one. You know, we have the types of cancer. It wasn't the aggressive one. When she came back, it was still in position, still same spot, still same size, and we had to refer her to our surgeon at Trust Hospital, and she's better now. So some of them have grace to come back. Maybe they'll. So it's all about the awareness, the spread, they knowing, like people, like right now that we've heard this story, it's a good story, and it's going to let people know that breast cancer has a treatment.
Why do you think they're so afraid to go to the hospital to get the treatment from there?
It's stigmatization, and most people feel, and most people think when you have breast cancer, you are cursed, or you've committed a sin, or you're a witch or something like that, and they don't want to be tagged with that. And it's funny, even when they come to the hospital, surprisingly, even the doctors and even the nurses, even when they are on the ward being taken care of, there's a different approach to which they are even taking care. Like it's not only the public, but even the health professionals as well. You see, it's and this I really want to be enough advocates to send this across, that like we the health professionals, we should love them. We should go all out. It's not about the money we are making. We should make the calls. We should make the follow up. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes you make a call and the patient is actually blasting you on the phone, like, why, you don't have anything to do and all that, and you actually have to call the next of kin. So usually at Trust Hospital, when we go for this Pink October and those things we do, we actually add a next of kin, because if we get the patient and the patient is not really pushing through, we go through to the next of kin. And that was how we're able to get some of them, because their uncle or husband or whoever names they write would eventually convince them to come for treatment. So
but Ishra, you shared your mother's story, and then when Mr. Thompson was talking, I was thinking, you didn't have to force your mom to do it.
No, I didn't have to, and I've seen a number of people who have allowed themselves to be convinced that the only way to deal with breast cancer is to see a pastor or a prophet, and it's a spiritual thing. I've seen, we've lost a few people like that, and like Doc was saying, these are people who you would thought knew better, but I think it's inherent in the way we're generally socialized as a people. We spiritualize everything. You don't do too well at work, the first thing you start thinking of is someone's going to put something under your chair. Maybe you are going through stress and it's taking a toll on your productivity. You won't do that. We tend not to critically think through things, and so in our fear and hopelessness, we clutch at anything that resembles the end we're looking for. By all means, pray. If the doctors didn't get their skill from the aliens, it came from the same God that we pray to. So you can't exclude your treatment and your road to recovery You can't exclude the medicine from that.
True.
Yeah.
Mr. Thompson, do you look back and think that you could have done something more? Maybe you should have forced her to go to the hospital?
That's a big question to ask, but I think that, like it is said, you can force the horse to the riverside, but you can't force it to drink. You know, and here was somebody who was quite stubborn. You see, and it's also said that you can't cry more than the bereaved.
True.
You know, so we were giving our support when it is needed. You know, and that's what we could do.
Yeah.
You know, but I think, like Inshira said, we are too quick to play the spirituality card or the superstition card. We're too quick to do that, and that was the beginning of her problem, my auntie's problem.
Yeah. I understand. Is there something more that you want to tell us?
Yes, I just want to tell the doctors and the health professionals that, like a taxi driver said to me some time ago when I was riding with him, and there was such a discussion on radio. He said that the breast for the man is like he's the landlord. The children are the tenants. He will live with it throughout. So they should also teach the men how to, when they are playing with the breast, they will know when they notice something.
Yes, true. I think I've heard stories of men actually seeing things and observing something and prompting the woman to check. Yeah. So how important? Maybe in closing this conversation, you can touch on that.
So I want to stress on the fact that breast cancer treatment is a whole holistic approach. We've had patients who have had surgery and then it ends there, but you have to have the surgery depending on the staging. You have to have the surgery. You might go through chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and then you have to keep on with your follow-ups. And then also, secondly, I want to encourage women to be empowered and be proactive about their health, in the sense that don't let any man tell you what to do or what not to do. I've had cases whereby women have been diagnosed with breast cancer and they tell me they are going back to ask permission from their husbands to have their breasts removed, and I find it very awkward. But then I don't blame them because of where they are coming from. So I'm using this opportunity to entreat women to be proactive. Come for your regular checkups, come for your follow-ups. Some corporate organizations are paying for that facility for them to come for checkups. We have the World Woman Clinic. We see Tuesdays and Thursdays. We screen women and we do pap smears, breast examination, and mammograms. And then also, last but not the least, we should, as we are saying, we shouldn't stigmatize, and we shouldn't make it look like it's a curse or something. We should see it like it's a disease that has to be treated, and that has to be brought to a certain level of public health insignificance as much as possible.
Okay. Also talk about the fact that we have a free breast screening that will happen here at Joy FM next week Friday. Wow. Yes.
Yeah, so we're going to have free breast screening on the 11th of October from the 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we are inviting everyone to come. Everyone is free. Just come and have your breast checked.
The men should also come around so we can teach them how to.
Yes, men need to learn that. And I don't think any woman has to ask their husband permission to stay alive. Yes. Think about it that way. I think so. And women out there, please, your life is your primary responsibility. You shouldn't be going to some quack to tell you stories and then you go home and then you go and beg your husband, can I go and have a mastectomy? If that's how you're going to stay alive, don't.
Yeah. Inshira, thank you. How is mom doing, by the way?
Oh, she's the number one advocate for the breast clinic at Korle Bu. I mean, she's doing very well. She's clear. She does her regular follow-ups as she's supposed to. and she's cool.
Great. I'm looking forward to a conversation someday with her. Thank you, Doc, for being here. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, for sharing your auntie story with us. So this month of October is our Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and as part of plans to increase attention and support the awareness, Joy FM's mid-morning show, definitely the Cosmopolitan Mix in partnership with the Trust Hospital, is dedicating the month to educate listeners and address their questions on breast cancer. It's a Pink October, and it's Lifestyle Cafe. It's brought to us courtesy the Registrar General's Department, filing of annual